I mean, we had stage, lighting, clothing. And back then, you got to remember, TLC, hat to the back, everything was, you know, cross colors.
Yeah.
And so my girls were beautiful. They were young, sexy, and beautiful. And nobody liked them. Nobody liked them, yeah. Puffy didn't like them. Kenny didn't like them. Clive Davis didn't like them because they thought they were too fast. They thought they were too sexy. These young girls, they're too fast. Nobody's going to really, you know, go to them because everything's hip hop and blah, blah.
Back in 1999, Sean Combs and Clive Davis reportedly passed on Destiny's Child, claiming the group felt too grown for their age, which instantly raised eyebrows because they were still very young at the time. People side-eyed that logic hard, especially when rumors later popped up saying Diddy didn't want to work with Beyonce because he felt she was moving too fast, which is wild considering how young and tightly managed she actually was back then. But behind closed doors, the chatter flipped completely. Word on the street says Diddy was actually very interested in Beyonce and wanted exclusive control over her career, with rumors even floating that he once talked about marrying her. As the years rolled on, insiders whispered that Jay-Z allegedly stepped in and shut all that down before it could ever go further. And now this whole story traces back to Daryl Simmons, a respected industry vet who worked with heavy hitters like Usher and Monica, and who originally signed Destiny's Child to his silent partner production company under Elektra, back when they were still known as The Dolls.
They were actually there working when I was writing, I think, because I remember Beyonce said, you writing that for Monica? I said, yeah, Dallas really needs a song. She goes, oh, that's nice.
She was there?
She was at my studio. They were rehearsing. I had them rehearsing and they were taking school. I had a tutor developing them. So they were signed to my production company for like 3 years. But I would say that to say they were all around each other. And that's why I think today they still stand at the top, because they came from the old work.
He later admitted that in the early days, he was so locked in on Beyonce's star potential that he seriously wanted to rename the entire group after her alone. Like one group, one name, Beyonce. That idea got shut down fast, though, because Matthew Knowles stepped in and made it clear the other girls' parents would never agree to that move, period. That moment sparked real tension behind the scenes. Daryl and Matthew clashed often, with big egos in the room and two strong-minded men both trying to steer the same ship their own way. The energy was messy, competitive, and full of power struggles that made everything harder than it needed to be. Over time, both of them reportedly realized they could have built something even bigger if they had worked together instead of butting heads. Daryl later owned up to his mistakes, saying he was young, full of big ideas, and didn't always have the experience or people skills to match that ambition. He also made it clear that when LaToya and Latavia left the group in 1999, he was getting non-stop calls from media outlets, but he stayed silent and never sold anyone out, saying he promised Beyonce he wouldn't after the group was dropped from Elektra. They walked out of that meeting knowing the working relationship was officially over and emotions were running high. Everyone was upset, but he still reassured them they were going to be just fine, even if it didn't feel like it in that moment. And even after Daryl fully stepped away from the group, he says Beyonce never forgot the role he played in those early days. Years later, Beyonce personally reached out to him, asking if he still had any footage from the very beginning of Destiny's Child. According to Daryl, a lot of her early material had been lost in a fire, and since he was always filming back then, he was one of the only people who might still have pieces of that history. And this wasn't handled through assistants or middlemen either. Beyonce reportedly flew him to New York herself, and the two of them sat together watching old tapes, flipping through photos, and reliving moments that shaped the start of her journey. Daryl said he filmed everything because he knew from day one the group was special, and something told him Beyonce would come back for that footage one day. So he boxed everything up and held on to it for years. And sure enough, that call finally came. He said people from her team kept walking into the room and getting emotional, even tearing up, while watching never-before-seen clips of Beyonce and the group rehearsing, growing, and becoming Destiny's Child.
Now I learned the meaning of your story, and there's enough love for me to stay. I want to be where you are, anywhere you are,
Now here's where Diddy enters the picture and things get real interesting. Daryl said he set up a major showcase with heavy hitters in the room, names like Clive Davis, Babyface, and Diddy, yet somehow all of them passed on Destiny's Child. The excuse floating around was that the group felt too grown, which made no sense because this was the TLC era, when baggy clothes were everywhere, while Destiny's Child was styled more classic, like the Supremes. According to Daryl, Clive Davis over at Arista seemed unsure how to place Beyoncé, not knowing if she was a kid, a teen, or a young artist in development, and instead of locking in on her, he shifted the focus to the music and said the songs just weren't connecting for him. On the other side, Diddy, who was running Bad Boy at the time, felt the group didn't fit his hip-hop lane and said they weren't quite his vibe. He did admit the lead singer stood out and even said he liked her name, but still passed, saying Beyoncé and the group needed more edge and more flavor before he'd be interested. Looking back, people now say all those passes were actually a blessing in disguise because it kept the group away from bad handlers and messy situations. Still, it hits different hearing Daryl recall how closely these industry giants were analyzing Destiny's Child back then, especially knowing who those names are today. What people are saying now is that as time went on, Diddy allegedly developed a strong interest in Beyoncé, and some believe he saw her as someone he wanted close to him. According to conversations around the documentary, the deeper viewers looked, the more uncomfortable this alleged pattern started to feel, and that's what really got people talking. The talk isn't that he casually pursued women, but that he allegedly focused on women connected to men already in his circle. The claim is that he would stand right beside these men, build trust, move friendly, and then allegedly cross lines behind the scenes. People point to names like Misa, Kim, Sarah, and Cassie, all women who were connected to people he already knew, and say that pattern didn't happen by accident. Because of that, fans have started rethinking his long friendship with Jay-Z. Some feel that if history shows anything, it's that his connections may have been more about leverage than loyalty. And that raises uneasy questions about whether Beyoncé, given her rising status and influence, would have been viewed as the ultimate win in his eyes. But once it became clear that Jay-Z was firmly in the picture and that door was completely closed, people believed Diddy backed off and kept things strictly friendly. And let's be real, if Jay already had Beyoncé locked in, most folks knew better than to cross that line. There have also been old industry rumors about tensions involving people who got too close to Beyoncé, but those stories remain unproven talk, not facts, and should be taken as speculation only.
All I can tell you, there was a famous R&B chick. There was a guy that was getting money at the time. You know, Pimp, he used to be in the studio, and every now and then he'd have a camcorder, so he was able to get some footage. He wanted to do something with the footage, but I don't know why he didn't do nothing with it, but if I could have got a hold of that tape, I'd be a billionaire, man. I know TMZ would have paid a bank for that one, man. It is a tape, and if you read the comments, a lot of people figured out. Because, you know, people that was in Houston at the time, they know who was a little loose.
Back in December 2007, on Jay-Z's birthday, Pimp C was found dead in his hotel room, and the official coroner's report said his passing was due to complications linked to heavy lean use combined with sleep apnea. On paper, that explanation closed the case, but for a lot of people, the timeline never fully sat right. Pimp C had been staying at the Mondrian Hotel in West Hollywood while working on new music and performing with Too Short earlier that morning on December 4th. He was supposed to fly back home later that day, where his wife and cousin were already waiting at the airport. When he stopped answering calls that morning, his wife contacted the hotel and asked staff to check on him. Hotel staff found him unresponsive in his room. Paramedics arrived, and he was pronounced dead shortly after. Even years later, many fans say the circumstances left unanswered questions that still spark debate. Over time, speculation spread online, with some people claiming Jay-Z was somehow connected, based on rumors that Pimp C was allegedly threatening to release a tape involving Beyoncé. Others point to stories shared by Bun B, who once recalled being in the studio with Beyoncé when Jay-Z reportedly called to ask who was present. None of this has ever been proven, but these stories continue to circulate and keep the conversation alive. And then things allegedly got even tighter. According to the story, once Jay-Z was told Beyoncé was wearing a more eye-catching outfit, he reportedly demanded that all the men clear out of the room immediately. That move alone had people talking, because it showed just how locked in and protective the situation had become. And let's not forget what happened with Sean Paul. He once spoke openly about how his song with Beyoncé blew up worldwide, yet they only performed it together 3 times, which raised serious questions. He said the second performance felt off, like something behind the scenes wasn't right, and there were signs of quiet interference going on. By the third performance, Sean Paul said the energy was still strange, and it didn't feel natural at all. He also revealed there was supposed to be another performance at the VMAs, and Beyoncé herself told him they would rehearse together. But the day before the VMAs, during press events, Sean said he was actively rehearsing Baby Boy, only to later be told by the label straight up, "They're not doing the song with you." That sudden switch up left fans confused and added to the growing belief that certain collaborations around Beyoncé were being tightly controlled behind the scenes. Allegedly, all that behind the scenes blocking was happening because Jay-Z was not feeling the rumors claiming Beyoncé and Sean Paul had something going on. People say Jay doesn't play when it comes to his woman, and once those whispers started spreading, doors quietly started closing, and situations got tightly controlled. Because of that, many believe Diddy knew to keep his distance. But keeping space doesn't automatically mean the interest was never there, because the talk floating around is that he allegedly wanted Beyoncé badly. Not in a reckless way, but more like curiosity mixed with ambition, knowing full well he couldn't cross that line without serious consequences. From what's been said, the interest may have existed, but Jay-Z being firmly in the picture changed everything. And that's why some fans wonder if those awkward moments between Beyoncé and Diddy weren't random at all, but instead Beyoncé clocking the energy and responding accordingly. Maybe that's what it was, or maybe it wasn't, but the conversation is definitely there. Now it's on you. Do you think things would have played out differently if Jay-Z wasn't around? Do you think Beyoncé noticed the attention and adjusted her distance on purpose? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you in the next one.